Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Mountain High podcast. I'm Griffin Youngs, joined by Christian Bole, as always. And today we are joined by a very special guest, the first guest we've had on here in like a minute. Honestly, It's been a little bit since we've had a guest, but this is a big one. Colleen Flynn, joining us once again from Mile High Sports. Colleen, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure once again. We are in the middle of the Olympic break right now, like me and Christian were talking about pretty much for all of last episode and looking ahead to the Olympics. The Avs have been pretty dominant so far, but I kind of wanted to start today just looking more into the Avs themselves. We're finally able to take a little bit of a breath after the first 55 games of the season that we've played so far. And the Avs pretty much have been on top of the league pretty much the entire time. The last month has been a little bit of a struggle with injuries and consistency. So Colleen, I want to start with you of just how do you feel about this team right now after a very polar opposite stretches between the first half of the season and what we've gotten in the last maybe 12 games?
Definitely a rough month and a half, per se. Really shows how important Gabriel Landeskog and Devon Toews are to this team. So that's certainly indicators as to why it was kind of a roller coaster, as you said, over January and the beginning of February. Not to worry. A lot of people are just kind of freaking out as soon as they see, a regulation loss, just because they've been doing so well that, it is kind of a shocker. But again, nothing to worry about. The Olympic break, honestly, couldn't have come at a better time. A lot of the guys banged up. Unfortunately, a few of those guys are obviously those that are over in Milan playing right now too. So that's going to be a little bit of a kind of a catch and go. So we'll see. But, I think it's really good that a lot of the other guys are going to get this rest and rejuvenation. So I am expecting the caliber, that level of play that they were in the first half of the season. A lot of the issues, one of the main issues that I had asked specifically to a few players and Coach Bednar was, is there a common denominator as to what has happened in the losses? Is there something that's kind of creeping in? His answer was no, not really. Every loss has, had its differences. But the one kind of common thing that he did say was them not having their legs. So energy is a big factor. So again, with this break, I think it's going to be very helpful, and you're going to see a rejuvenated team come back at the end of February.
So we've talked about this on the show countless times, and Griffin and I, we're no hockey experts. We're not in the room like you are. What is it about Gabriel Landeskog that when he is not in the lineup, the team just seems to forget like the little details? Like, do they really need Gabe to be, we've said it, like the babysitter for the team? But what do you think the reason is for the team's play just falling off a cliff whenever Gabe's not in the lineup?
I mean, first of all, he was really heating up before he got hurt. So huge difference there as far as a playmaker. But just his presence in the locker room is so significant as the captain, as the glue that brings everybody together. And the thing that's really made this team work so well is their chemistry, is that just that winning mentality, that drive, that competition, togetherness that Landeskog really helps bring together. So that's a big issue when he's out of the lineup. I mean, he's around the team. He was around the team, when he was rehabbing and recovering from his injury and everything, but it's just not the same as having him on the ice and him, yelling at the guys, getting their spirits up, getting the energy up. And again, as that being kind of the issue in some of the losses, he makes a difference in that realm as well.
And I'm like, I got a little bit of a silly question to follow up on that one. Are we going to start when we talk to Gabe, we're going to have to pronounce his name the way he pronounced it for the Olympic website? Is that going to be like something we have to start doing? Gabriel Landeskog? Like I can't even do it. But it is just funny, like the American way we say it. He says it all Swedish with like a beautiful accent, and then we're just coming here, Gabriel Landeskog. Like, are we going to have to start giving him that notion when we talk to him?
Absolutely not. He's still always going to be Gabe for us.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure because it is, we've talked about it too on the show where he is just he's the best captain in the NHL, and he gets kind of forgotten just because he misses all that time. But the last time he played, the Avs were hoisting the Stanley Cup. So is he, in your opinion, the most important player, maybe not the best player, but the most important player for the Avs to win a Stanley Cup this year?
100%. Absolutely. They have had the talent, obviously, on this team for a while. They've moved some pieces in the last couple of years with him being out, or while he's been out, but still just didn't have, there was still something missing. Definitely that first year, the team dealt with a lot of injuries, just rotating lineup. Second year was injuries as well and some other issues. And then, more consistent last year, but it's just been, he is that special of a player on and off the ice with this team to be that difference maker. And this team from training camp felt like the 2022 team in the room. I mean, just knowing he was back, him being back in the room has just been really giving you that 2022 feeling.
Yeah, it's just that the frustration has felt much less palpable this year. You could feel it, especially at early points last season, where it felt like a lot of the locker room was starting to boil over a little bit from October to November. He had some of those comments from Devon Tays, some of the stuff with Lehkonen and Mikko Rantanen and all that stuff a while ago. And this season, you just haven't felt that frustration really with this team. It felt like they hit the ground running right from the get-go. They go basically 41 games with only 2 regulation losses. And then you see it immediately. Gabe goes rib first into the post, and it's not a coincidence. It feels like that their results immediately begin to drop. And now that you see Gabe back in the Olympics for Team Sweden and scoring a goal in his first game back, you have to imagine, like, once this team does come back from the break, the Olympics are not hanging over their head. They have their captain, Gabe Landeskog, back. You're not going to see that version of the Avs that we've seen for maybe the last 2 weeks or so in this home stretch.
That's what I'm expecting. Barring any issues in the Olympics, knocking on wood, of course.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have some tired guys back, but at the same time, it's with Landeskog and Tays having been out as long as they were for that stretch of games, them playing in the Olympics and getting that back under their belt is actually probably very helpful. And I think Gabe's going to come back healthy, recharged, and charged up, basically, since, he is playing for Team Sweden. So with that is definitely an advantage because, guys that are out for long periods of time, it usually takes a game, 2 games, sometimes, a handful of games for them to really get back into their groove, to where him coming off of playing Olympic hockey right back into it in the NHL, I think is going to be an easy transition and a better transition for him.
There was something
Go for it.
Okay, go for it. I would say there was something that Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts leading into this, saying that around the league, everyone was kind of feeling the strain of this season a little bit with the compressed schedule and the Olympics coming up. You definitely felt that with the Avs a lot over the last couple of weeks. So again, it's to reiterate that of having that out of the way now is going to do this team some good, right? And especially even with the compressed schedule they have during the after the break, that they're going to just not play. Felt like the details were missing towards a stretch, and once they come back, they're going to start to try to get those back a little more.
The good thing is that everybody's in the same boat, right? So you've got all 32 teams coming back with some maybe a little bit of rust to knock off, but again, everybody's going to be refreshed as well. So that compressed schedule when they get back is pretty rough. You look at the month of March and it's like a game every other day.
Yep.
It's rough. It's definitely going to be a tough one. But the one good thing about this team that they have shown is that they have been fairly successful with the compressed schedule so far. They've had a lot of back-to-backs that they've done well in. They've had a lot of the quick turnovers. So with that said, I think this team staying hot like that's going to be an advantage that they've been good in those situations already.
Yeah. And with that compressed schedule, you kind of go into the need for your goalies to step up. And that's what Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood have done. There's been a debate online, and I've seen it kind of treading over there, of who should start game one for the playoffs. Griffin and I have always been of the opinion Scott Wedgwood has been amazing. He filled in admirably while Blackwood was dealing with his injuries throughout the year. Is there any chance that Mackenzie Blackwood is not the game one starter, barring everyone's health?
That's honestly, Jared Bednar's always been a believer in going with the hot hand. You can't determine, from now until then, who's going to be, having that better game necessarily. When Mackenzie Blackwood's healthy, when he's on his game, he is definitely, the more impressive of the two. Not saying by much, because Scott Wedgwood has certainly shown an immense amount of talent as well. And, him starting this many games of his career has really challenged him, but he's embraced it, stepped up, and, just run off with it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it is not going to be Scott Wedgwood, because again, if that last string of games, Wedgwood happens to be the hotter hand, that's who Bednar will go with. And it also depends on who they end up facing in the first round, of course, because he's going to go with the goalie who's got a better record against that team as well.
Yeah, that's just it. We've always joked on the show, it's not a bad thing to have two really good goalies. It's not a bad thing.
And you're especially grateful for it these days.
Yeah, it's a far cry from where we were at this point a year and a half ago. So sure. I just wonder, because it is it's the most important position in hockey with your goaltender. And what we saw from Blackwood last year in the playoffs, games 1 through 4, he was phenomenal. I think game 5, he wasn't great. Game 6, I think he allowed 4. Did he allow 4 in game 6? Am I remembering that correctly? Was it 4 or 5? I think it was 4.
I think it was 4.
Yeah. And then game 7, he was great. So it is just, I agree with that point of just whoever is the hot hand, that's who you ride with. And then to follow up off of that, again, another kind of goofy question. Is Scott Wedgwood as cool as he looks? Like, is he just like the coolest guy in the room?
He is hilarious.
Okay. That's right.
100% he is. And just the nicest person to talk to. Really very easy to talk to as well, and very detailed on anything that you ask him. So, I've been something as simple as asking something about his pads, and, I end up having a 5 to 10 minute conversation with him about, all the details of it and why he does this and why, and how he does that and why, and all of the stuff behind it. So he jokes around about it all the time, but he absolutely will either be in broadcast or should have his own podcast at some point in time as well.
He just seems like the coolest dude. I don't know what it is. I want to have a beer with the guy. I don't know what just anytime he talks, I'm just like, this guy looks cool. He's a cool guy.
But honestly, it's funny because Mackenzie is, different personalities from, between the two of them, but buddies, joking back and forth. So again, just two really easy to talk to guys, which is pretty rare. Goalies,
especially in the goaltender position. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, very different from last season. So, it was certainly a change for me to be able to talk to the goalies after morning skate, which we were never able to do before because the other goalies just didn't want to do that. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, not bashing any of the other goaltenders that choose not to do that. It's just different. So it's nice to have that and be able to just have just easier open conversations with these guys to just kind of pick their brains on some things or just, shoot the shit.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at how they've shored up their goaltending over the last year and a half or so. It feels like this Avs team has ironed out a lot of their issues over the last little bit coming into this season where you get Gabe back. Your goaltending is fixed. They have much better depth than they've had. Outside of the obvious, which we'll talk about later, have you seen anything in this maybe last month or so that has revealed itself to be a more full-on weakness of this team outside of the power play, of course, because I'm sure we'll get to that in a little bit, but anything that feels like it stuck out a little more over this last month than it did earlier in the season?
I mean, honestly, pretty much the same thing that the guys are saying, the same thing coach is saying, is that you see in those games that they have the losses, they just did not have their legs hitting the ice from the second the puck dropped. And I mean, that is just so important that, again, it's something as simple to say as that, the team that scores the most goals is going to win the game. It's, the team that has the most energy is going to win the game. So, in a situation like that, if the guys, just right off the bat are just not mentally prepared or, just physically a little drained, really makes a difference. And with this team, the other thing is that, they've talked about how certain things are just almost, they just kind of roll through the room. So, almost contagious, as Bednar has said, is that, if one guy's not feeling it, that could, inadvertently kind of run around the rest of the room and like, I'm not feeling it either. Not saying that that's necessarily what's happening. I'm spitballing as far as kind of how talking to the guys about what they think may be, again, that common denominator in those losses, it being energy. So, they all have the same schedule. They all, obviously they all have different, pregame routines and those kinds of things. But I mean, as far as, travel, schedule, all those kinds of things, like they're all on the same page. So if one guy's not feeling the hottest, it's probably going to be the whole team. So I think that's certainly the biggest common denominator. Again, as far as skill, technique, I mean, they've definitely, some of their games they've had a little bit of a struggle on the defensive side, but other games they've played really well. You said we'll get into it in a little bit, but certainly the power play is a struggle. So it's again, not really one particular thing other than that energy factor.
I mean, we're bringing it up.
Might as well.
Now's as good a time as any to talk about the power play. We're seeing what Team Canada is doing with
about
Nathan
that
McKinnon and Gail McCarr. They don't seem to be having much of a problem with their power play, to be fair. Hard to have problems with that power play, but it is nice to see McKinnon and McCarr being productive on the power play, even if it's not for the Avs. So that brings us back to right now, the Avs have the 32nd power play in the NHL. It's the worst in the league, which for a power play with McKinnon and McCarr is unbelievable. Colleen, in your opinion, what's going on here? How have we gotten to this point?
Oh, well, the simplest answer is at this point in time, they've tried quite a few different things. It's still not working. I've got to agree with Coach Bednar saying that at this point in time, it's kind of more of a mental thing with them. And again, we're hoping that this break maybe just kind of, and the fact that they are having success in the power play with Team Canada, those three players, that it'll kind of be a reset for them. So, and maybe even, learning some different things or, coming back to the team with maybe a couple of ideas to shoot around with the coaches. So it's, again, that is certainly a beast that is not one pinpointed thing. It's dumbfounding with that talent that they are struggling that much. However, you got to point out that they have played as well as they've played 5-on-5. So, but of course the power play is going to be exceptionally important come playoff time. Good thing is that at least on the other side of the special teams, the penalty kill has been really solid, slipped a little bit in the last month. But it's almost like whatever's going on with the power play, it's like, okay, guys, let's, see how the penalty kill is working so well, and just having literally the bipolar opposite, with the power play. Like, what's working with this that we can implement into this. So again, I think the break is going to be a good thing for them to really just kind of let it get out of their minds, get mentally reset with it, and just come into it like it's game 1 instead of, game 56.
Yeah. Because like you look at it too. Yeah. And it's like they were so good in the first half of the season because their 5-on-5 covered up a lot of the faults that were going on with the power play. And Griffin and I have talked about this on the show. Like, you can implement all the systems you want, but ultimately it comes down to the players. They have to execute. Like, Dave Haxtell's not out there like just telling Nathan MacKinnon to fumble the puck on the boards or Cale Makar not to be able to keep a puck in. He's not doing that. But also he's not helping. That feels like there's no creativity with it. It is the most predictable power play I think we've ever seen. And it's maddening as fans because, again, we aren't as smart or as good of hockey players as Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, and we can predict what they're going to do. We were at the game, the San Jose game. We joked about it, and we were sitting there and we're just like, all right, here comes the pass up to Cale. He's going to swing it around to the other point. They're going to dump it down low. It'll go to MacKinnon. He'll look for the bumper slot. If it's not there, they'll try the cross-seam pass, and it'll get cleared, and there's 40 seconds.
What was the other joke we had in that game, too? Is like, well, they should just try to take a 4-on-4 right off the faceoff. Yeah. And then what did they do? They get a 4-on-4 in the third period, and then that ends up being the game-winning goal, which I think only adds to Colleen's point that it's pretty much all in their head at this point, because when we have a man advantage, they can't do it, but they take one of their guys off, and now all of a sudden you get that advantage that you should have at 5-on-4.
And I mean, to that point, I honestly think that, talking about the creativity of it and the predictability of it, 100% spot on, is that, all these teams that are coming in, again, they are so focused on trying to beat the best team in the NHL that, they're looking and pinpointing every possible weakness. And of course, the power play being as predictable as it is, it has just even snowballed further that more teams coming in as hyped up as they are against the Avs have been able to exactly what you said, basically read the plays. So they really do need to kind of switch it up with the creativity of it. And again, this is where maybe MacKinnon, Makar, and Taves being with Team Canada and having successful power play there might give them some new ideas coming back to the table after the break.
Yeah, because we joked about it with the difference why the power plays. We don't have Connor McDavid, but here's the thing: you have Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar who are in that same echelon,
and Brock Nelson.
Yeah, and Brock Nelson. Like, you have these guys. It shouldn't be this hard. And I feel like we spend, what would you say, Griffin, 15 minutes an episode on the power play just because it's
on an off night.
It's just like
after a loss, it's probably like 30 plus.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, and it's so confusing for a team this good and with this much talent that they can't succeed, that you are just at the point where you do think it's mental, where they just, whenever they get it, they just feel the pressure of it and they aren't going to score. Because if we're being quite honest, that's the reason why they lost to Dallas last year, was the power play was bad. Ray Bennett got fired because of it. Like, a guy lost a job because the power play was so bad. If they score one power play goal in that Dallas series, they're probably going on to the next round. I mean,
and considering that might be one of the teams that we face again, that's certainly something they need to get worked on.
The second best power play in the NHL. They have the exact opposite problem that we do. Their special teams is too good. And 5-on-5, they're decent, but the Avs are a mess on the power play. And so it just, to wrap up that conversation, I feel like we're all going to have the same answer to this, but is this not the most important issue on the team? That is going to be the main reason, outside of injuries and other external factors. Is this going to be the main reason why maybe they wouldn't win?
This is definitely the biggest issue that they are dealing with. And with that said, again, look at their record, look at how they're, how they've played for the majority of the season. They have one hiccup, again, injuries, just some other, again, fatigue, those kinds of things going on, that it's, there could be a lot worse things that they're dealing with. So again, something that can be fixed, that I love to quote Coach Bednar with a lot of the way he answers things is, work in progress. So, and I feel like the power play literally has been a work in progress this entire season, because, something is a work in progress when you haven't perfected it, or it still needs, some tweaking. At this point in time, this power play, again, and Bednar had gone back to point out the fact that they played really good power plays in that early game in Detroit, even though they didn't score on it, but that was probably the best setup power play that we've seen from them for a while. So with that, hopefully that's like the blueprint for them, that when they get back from the break, that like sit down and, okay, this is what we need to focus on, and this is how we need to do it. This was the right way to do it, even though we didn't, contribute anything from it. This is, almost, again, the blueprint, the structure of it.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing too. We've been saying this entire time. We don't want a top. Well, we want a top 5 power play, but at this point in the season, we take 20%. We take middle of the pack. Like, we'll take anything compared to where it's at. And we joked, like, this is the lowest they can go. They can't go any lower than 32nd in the league on the power play. So it is only up from here. It is only up. And I just feel bad for my main man, Griffin, because not only does he have to watch the Avs power play, he has to watch the 26th worst power play and with his Capitals too. So
it went up from the last time we checked.
Yeah, you've just had no power play rejoicing at all.
Oh, I've watched probably over 100 games this season between both of them, and power plays are lost causes.
Yeah, it's just, I might as well zone out for a little bit. So
we're blaming this on Griffin, is what you're saying.
There's a lot of that going around these days.
Nah, not yet. If we lose in the playoffs, then I'll come on here and do that.
All right.
As we continue to talk about the Avs, how great they are, all of these things, what team out west, or maybe it's a team out east, what team scares you the most? Because I look at it and it feels like there's an obvious answer, because it's the boogeyman. Like, what is the team you are most scared of if you're scouting out the rest of the West?
Of course, it's going to be Dallas.
Yeah.
But Minnesota is definitely another team that is right up there. So
you look at it as, well, if you're playing Minnesota, that means they beat Dallas, which would then make them scary to me. But it's also like, well, I don't think Minnesota's going to beat Dallas. Maybe I just haven't had that leap in my mind yet. And yeah, to your point, Dallas is Dallas. Until you beat them, they're the boogeyman.
They scare me. They scare me just because we were just talking about the mental hurdles of the power play. Dallas is that version of a mental hurdle where
I just had a thought of a game 7 against Dallas. If they score a power play goal in a game 7 to beat Dallas, that's 3 demons all in one.
Just raise a banner for it. Just raise the banner, like, score the power play goal and beat Dallas. That's all we need.
My God.
That's all we need. Because it's just, I do think this Avs team, because I thought last year's team was great. They were awesome. They had a ton of talent. Brock Nelson, you had Charlie Coyle. Ryan Lindgren, I think, was a good addition. But there was the power play that just cost them. 5-on-5, they kicked Dallas's butt. Like, they dominated Dallas 5-on-5. Jake Ottinger was great in a couple games. I do think this team is better than the team we saw last year, and that's just simply because Gabe's back. What else do you think that they are missing to take them over the top? If you had to put your GM hat on for a second, what do you think they're looking to do?
I mean, honestly, that's a tough one. It's hard to specifically say depth, because they do have the depth on this team. However, as another thing that Bednar has mentioned about some players on the team are streakish. So, you can never have too much depth on your team, for sure. And in this case, it's needing to kind of improve that depth for those times that you have those guys that are streakish. That maybe it's a mental thing for them. You just need to take them out for a game or two, reduce their minutes, whatever it may be. I think that's really one of the only weaknesses for this team, is to have that structure that they can have a solid 4 lines going, because it's, obviously the workhorses are that top line with McKinnon, but, this team has shown the depth through all 4 lines. Parker Kelly, he's having such a career year. So happy for him. Great player, just, and just such a humble player. As far as his work ethic goes, is amazing. So, we need more Parker Kellys. I'm not going to, specifically pinpoint out any of the other specific players, but we know who's been a little snake bitten here and there throughout this season. Still very talented players, but come playoff time, we can't have that. So you can't be in that position. So you need to have that depth to have the other guys that aren't snake bitten to be able to step up and produce.
You look at where we're going to be at post Olympic break. There's going to be, I think, about less than 2 weeks before the trade deadline, which I believe is March 7th. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you're only going to have about like 4 or 5 games before that trade deadline really hits. Have you identified any players looking around the league that you feel like could fit the mold of this AFC? Maybe like those 2022 moves from a couple of years ago, the Lekkonens, the Coglianos, the Mansons, the Sturms of the world. Does anyone come to the top of your mind as maybe being one of those kinds of fits this year that could help round out that depth that you're talking about?
I really haven't gotten into that too much, honestly, but at this point in time, it's hard to say. Really, maybe just another two-way forward would be, certainly an advantage to the team. And maybe, shoring up a little bit on that defensive side as well. Unfortunately, and again, knocking on wood, any injuries, we learned this with Taves being out. So, huge thing for Sam Alinsky to have stepped up as much as he has this season. Obviously rewarded with a contract for that, but Sam Girard, has been hot and cold. Yeah. So, it, again, not, nothing bad across the board with any of the players, just to be able to, fill in that hole where some guys might just be struggling a little bit and just kind of swapping out and having that ability to do so with, a solid player that fits into the system.
Yeah. Maybe to broaden that a little bit more, what do you think is more important for them to fill? Is that bottom 6 center role or maybe a bottom pair defenseman to fill up that defensive depth?
I'm definitely going to say the bottom 6 forward role for sure. Just because as far as the defensive side goes, again, we've got such strong pairs that if you're talking about just, having to replace or fill in one player, we've got the talent down in the Eagles to be able to do that. As far as the forwards go on that bottom 6, again, nothing against any of our AHL guys, but especially coming towards the playoffs and those really important games, you need somebody solid that is going to be able to regularly produce. And again, just have that chemistry with this team, because that's really the most important thing as far as the production with this team is just that gelling that they have. And having had to shift around a lot of different players on that bottom 6 has definitely kind of given you an idea as to, what some of those holes may be. And again, it's being able to have somebody that fits with this system, knows how to play it well, and knows how to play it with the players that are in place on those 2 lines.
So I'm going to pivot here too, because there's a bottom 6 forward that's on the roster right now, and we just don't know what's going on with him. Have you heard anything or seen anything being at the practice rink? What is going on with Logan O'Connor? Because that's a forward right there that we've seen when Logan O'Connor's on his game. That's exactly the player this team needs right now. What's going on with Logan O'Connor?
That is certainly a game changer. Logan is, the last that we talked to Coach Bednar before the break, was that he is skating on his own, which is good because it's been a bit since we've seen him on the ice. He did say he was going to be here over the break, continuing to work on his rehab. And again, still no timeline. My guess is, and again, literally this is a guess, that if he's just getting back on the ice now, and with this pretty rough condensed schedule coming up in March, they're going to give him as much time as he needs and not obviously rush him back into the lineup. With that said, again, as I was saying earlier, with the chemistry of this team, there's that is, we know the caliber of player that Logan O'Connor is. Number one, is he going to come back at that caliber? Obviously, it's not going to be immediate. He hasn't played all season. So again, same thing with, Gabe Landeskog with the extended timeout. It's going to take him a little bit to get back into play. So if he is healthy and able to get back sooner than later, obviously we want that to happen before playoffs. Secondly, on that note, with the chemistry of this team, that could also throw a wrench into things. But Logan, still having been around the team, still being part of that camaraderie and being part of that group, again, not being away from the team, certainly helps out a lot as well. And it's just going to be a matter of getting him back in a game and seeing, how it goes from there. It's one of those things that you can't anticipate, expect, anything because it's been so long. But the latest is that he is skating, and he is continuing to rehab. So it could be as soon as, a few games after we get back from break, or it could be not into April. So it's hard to tell.
Well, because me and Griffin were joking because he has the surgery, and at training camp, he's skating at training camp. And we were saying, oh, worst case, he's back by, what did we say, Griffin, December?
Yeah, probably like Thanksgiving-ish timeline, because that's kind of what we were told a little bit.
Yeah, that was the timeline. That was the original timeline.
Like maybe early November, maybe at worst the first quarter of the season, basically. And it slowly evolved into hearing less and less and him kind of being out of the eye for a little bit, almost to the point that he forgot with how good this team was. But now that you are close to the trade deadline, and now with the new cap rules, do you think we'll have maybe kind of an answer by the deadline if they have to declare him out by then?
I would hope so. I'm sure that is certainly the focus for McFarland and the Avalanche organization for sure. It's, again, what we were told is the surgery was successful. It was another issue that has come up. So it wasn't specifically that it's not the hip. It was just specific. It was more specifically that it was not related to the surgery. So
interesting.
Again, one of those things that you're just kind of like, we don't get all the details on it, but kind of guessing that, again, since this is his second surgery, that it, could be the whole just imbalance of, working on one side to try and rehab, the other side gets a little weak or however, sometimes that can happen. Again, just spitballing, no idea what the actual issue is, but, those are just some of the kind of things that we've thrown around as far as the media people, when we're just trying to kind of get a grip onto what the issue could be as well, and why it's ended up being such a longer process and why it's taking so much more time to rehab.
Yeah,
so how annoying is it as a reporter just to cover hockey and just the vagueness of the injury history? Does that annoy you as much as it annoys us? Because we'll sit there and what was the injury that happened? It was Gabe. It was like upper body. That's all we know.
Yep, I guess that.
We all saw that it was probably his ribs, right?
Yeah.
You go into the net like that area. I mean, unless his spleen exploded, I'm going to say that it was probably his ribs, right? So, yeah, I mean, you just get to the point where we expect it. We try and, ask those little questions to get as much detail as we can. but coach is set to tell you what he's set to tell you. And, there's only so much we can do. I understand their side of it. All the teams are like this. Nobody gives you a specific, oh yeah, rib 4 and 5 were, slightly correct, and the whole doctor's, rundown of it. But just, it's more so of that timeline. And again, I just kind of put myself in their shoes as well. And it's just like, that's what the doctors are telling them. You can't control how someone's body is going to heal, or how they're going to recover from it. So it's one of those things that it's just, with Gabe, obviously the biggest scare was that, oh my God, please don't let that have been his knee.
Well, yeah, because he hit that rut and you saw his knee buckle a bit. And I think we came on here and we were like, we swear to God, if it's his knee again, like, just might as well fold the season. We're done. Like, this was a great time.
Oh, my heart stopped. It was terrible. But then seeing, the replay and that was such a hard impact. Like that, you knew that there were, something was probably broken. And we kind of got an idea of that when we talked to McKinnon, and, he specifically said, bones can heal. Yeah. And, that's one thing that was kind of a little hint for us. And again, it wasn't a shocker for us. Like, oh, wow, since Nate said it, now it's, the Bible. But, it's okay. Yeah, it is.
Nate doesn't talk much. So, when Nate says something, you kind of go. Yeah,
and you can never fault Nate for not being honest, because he's certainly honest. So to have, kind of given us that little, tidbit was very helpful and appreciated. But again, kind of something we all were figuring anyway. So, it's, again, everybody heals differently, and we just go along with whatever answer they give us. And when it's upper body, we can ask, shoulder, neck, and they'll just somewhere in that region. Yeah. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, at the very least, it's good to see Gabe back at the Olympics with Team Sweden. Great to see him scoring a goal. Again, there's something about him coming back from injuries and scoring goals pretty much right away. He's done it with 3 different teams now. He did it with the Eagles and the Avs, and now with Team Sweden. And so you just look at the start of these Olympics so far. If we want to pivot to the Olympics a little bit here, we're 2 games in for most teams, only 1 for Team USA. But the Avalanche have kind of been wrecking shop for the most part, especially on Team Canada, especially on Team USA with Brock Nelson. Marty Necas had himself a 2-point night with Team Czechia today. And obviously Gabe Landeskog had the opening goal as well. It's really good just to see them. I don't know if taking it seriously is the right word, but like some of them were coasting a little bit over the last little bit. It's good to see them be the kinds of players we know they can be, right?
Absolutely. And it's something that almost can't even be put into words, as they have, they had discussed with us as well. It's such an honor for them to be able to represent their countries. So it's a different level of play. And obviously it's a different level of play at the international level and with the greatest players in the entire NHL all together. So, I think it's a really good experience and a boost for all of those players. Granted, it's players that were not having a problem and, not struggling at all in their games. So if anything, it's just more so of that team building that at least for the 3 guys in Canada, or 2 Finns as well. And just even the competition, among the Avs players against each other. Pretty interesting to watch, even though, they, as excited as they are, Gabe said it, Nate said it, Cale said it, all of them said that, as soon as that puck drops, we're no longer teammates, we're no longer friends, we are now in competition with each other.
That's gotta be crazy for them, because it's like Gabe and Nate have been tied at the hip since 2013. And then the second they put on those different team colors, there's no love lost. And that's the beauty that has been the Olympics so far. and I've gotten to watch a majority of the games. And before we go too far, shout out the U.S. women. They've given up like 2 goals the entire time. I was watching that game today. I think at one point, Italy was being outshot 17-2, and it was 0-0. And you go, all right, this may be a tough game. USA still won 6-0. Like the women's are just cruising right now. They're on to the semifinals after that win today. But I've been most impressed in the Olympics just how competitive the games have been. Like even the bottom feeder teams like Italy, who we thought was going to struggle. You thought a couple teams, not Czechia. Why am I blanking on who beat Finland?
Slovakia?
Or Sweden? Slovakia. Like they looked really good. Czechia struggled a little bit, but they have the NHL talent.
I thought even Latvia gave the U.S. a little run for their money for a few. Like it was a decent game for a little bit. This was something we talked about in our preview. It was like, the gap has closed. Like it's not enough, I think, to knock a Canada or a Team USA out of a medal, but you're not going to see a 10-0 game in the Olympics anymore. Like all of these teams are at least decent enough to put up a good fight. And you saw that right away with Slovakia taking down a good Finland team.
And not only that, I mean, you look at it and there are 3 teams that are fully made up of NHL players. That's USA, Canada, and Sweden. But the majority of the other teams have a heavy amount of NHL players, and even the teams that don't, the smaller teams that don't have that big presence still have that NHL, a couple of those NHL players on there with their kind of experience, knowing how to play against the other NHL players on the bigger teams like Canada, USA, and Sweden. With that said, I'm waiting to see who's going to sign Damien Clara. That guy was outstanding.
So
talk about, that's been kind of the fun part of this competition thus far, is seeing some of these players that are not in the NHL and their caliber, and just that competitiveness that they have, and how the NHL players are responding to that style of play. So that's been really fun to watch too.
I think people forget that, like, just because these guys are not in the NHL doesn't mean they're not good at hockey. These are very much professionals from around the world. I forget the name of the goalie from the last Olympics, but he was one of the guys who was like signed by Toronto and claimed by Arizona on waivers after he had a great Olympics.
I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember his name, but it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a guy make a name for himself at the Olympics and come over to the NHL. And I hope we see that for a lot of these guys, to at very least maybe come over to the AHL a little bit. Maybe you get some guys to come up to the NHL. But like, this is a big deal for a lot of those guys. And this is what we've been missing in hockey for so long, is the Olympic competition. The Four Nations was one thing. It was fun, but you're missing that extra flavor of the around the world stuff, of the storylines you don't know, of all the stuff coming into it, like seeing players on Team Italy and seeing the guys who make up the rest of Team Slovakia and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that we've been missing. But I wanted to change this to something else, because you wrote a great article on Brock Nelson and his journey to the Olympics over the last little bit, and how he's from an Olympic family, which I didn't even really realize coming into these Olympics. Now you see him huffing and wheezing his way to the 2 goals that he had in
Should have been 3. Should have been 3.
Should have been 3.
Had like 5 points by the end of that game. He was
absolutely
unbelievable in that game. And it's just got to be so great to see that Brock Nelson has been the hottest hand in the league, and he's continuing that in the Olympics.
I mean, it's so cliche and so perfect that he was the big goal scorer for Team USA for that first game, because again, as you just said, you look at his numbers and he has just exploded the last 2 months. Again, especially during, a month and a half stretch where the team's kind of struggling up and down. Brock Nelson is just killing it. He's having, he's playing, some of his best hockey. So again, back to that depth, back to that, structure of this team, of the Avs team, at least, he's become such a key player. So it's really nice to see him go into the Olympics, which I did not realize until one of the, I don't know if it was Eddie Olczyk or who it was that mentioned it, that he's the oldest player on Team USA at 34 years old.
He's 34. He's not like an old man.
Right. So, I mean, and with that said, that, there's a lot of controversy. Some people. I'm not even going to say experts. I'm not even going to say, media. Because I'm not even going to give him that much. That he shouldn't have been on the team. Now, yeah, I'm a little biased, okay, because I do cover the Avs and I, cover him on a regular basis, but I also know the rest of the league. I've watched him when he was in Long Island. He's a different player on this team. He was destined to be on this team, and his his abilities, it's almost like he's, just extending his prime right now. And the fact that he's shining as bright as he is in that first game on Team USA just made things so much brighter for him, around him, and just his attitude towards his game and towards playing for Team USA, how happy and how proud. And again, as I said in my article, destined to be an Olympic, have some Olympic greatness because of his family history. I couldn't be happier. And I mean, Team USA is extremely lucky to, have that guy who is on such a high, playing at the top of his game right now on their team.
Well, and Christian, you called this with him and Jack Hughes, didn't you? Yep. Where you said that was going to be a great pair, and you see the two of them working at that second goal that he has. So one of the cleanest goals I've ever seen. But Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, Brock Nelson's on pace for 43 goals this year. He's gonna set career high in goals. There's we can agree two things can be right. Jason Robertson should have been on the team, and Brock Nelson should have been on the team too. You can agree on it. We don't have to diminish either.
Bigger problems than the guys.
There's a couple players who I don't agree should be on there, but you look at it with Brock Nelson, and we talked about in the preview, is him and Jack Hughes together. That seems like a match made in heaven, and you saw the evidence of it in that first game where Latvia had no answer for that line. That line went out there every single shift and just worked them over. And the big key was Brock Nelson just creating havoc in front. He has that beautiful deflection, which, again, I loved what Connor Hellebuyck said after that game where they're like, is the goaltender interference going to be different in the NHL? And he goes, well, it changes in the NHL every year too, so we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to know that those same things will continue, but that deflection was beautiful. The first goal, just another beautiful play. And then it's just, he's such a smooth player. He doesn't seem like he's going fast, but he is moving fast. And I think that's something that maybe I never noticed when he was playing on the Islanders. He looked slow. Maybe that was just because the Islanders are slow. But with the Avs, he has no problem keeping up. Like, he's been on a line with McKinnon and Natchez, and he doesn't miss a beat.
So on that note, it's funny that you said that, because I think that's one of the other biggest things to point out with Brock Nelson, of the diversity of a player that he is. You look at how many different line mates he's had because of injury and because of, shifting things around. He's played with Nichushkin, he's played with Lehkonen, he's played with Natchez, he's played with Colton, and just him being able to adjust his game with the different style that, the other players may bring to the line is what really shows how skilled a player he is, and is really being showcased in this international play with the different players that he's playing with right now as well.
Yeah. And Griffin, I did want to tell you this. I found the Team USA Brock Nelson jerseys. Do you want to know how much they cost?
$7,000.
Incorrect. Close though. It's $285. And you want to hear the best part about them? It's not stitched. It's screen printed on. So you're paying $285 for a screen printed jersey.
Stop it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my God.
I was so mad because those jerseys are beautiful. And I was shocked we didn't see them at Ball Arena, that they weren't selling them there for all the players the Avs had. But I did find it, and I was very disappointed to see, because I always read the details, because screen printed jerseys should not be $285. They should be maybe $100. So that was
ridiculous.
It was a big time bummer. But overall, man, I've loved the Olympics. It's so good to have them back. The only thing we were joking about is if we do get USA Canada in the final, that 6 a.m. wake up call is going to be really rough on a Sunday.
Oh man.
I felt bad. Did you see the DNVR guys did a watch party for the Sweden-Finland game at 4 a.m. this morning?
No, I did
No.
not see that's
They
crazy.
did a watch party at 4 a.m. They just put sickos. I was like, I just tipped my cap. I was like, that is,
I set my alarm and I slept right through it.
yeah.
I gave up. I was just like, I'm just not seeing this. I got one 6 a.m. bullet in the chamber, and that's for the gold medal.
That's it. And that's my
Yeah,
day
that's
off.
it.
So I was like, God, that's gonna be a rough wake up call. But it's just so great to have Olympic hockey again. And you see how much it means. Like if we switch it to Team Canada, the line of McKinnon, McDavid, and
Celebrini.
That is not fair.
Insane.
I was watching that game today, and I thought Switzerland played a good game against them. I thought the Swiss were good.
Yeah.
But they're no match. They're no match for that line. And McCarr's out there too.
Cal had what, 2 points?
Yeah. I love Team USA. I don't know how you stop that. I just don't. It's insane.
I mean,
I'd love to give deep party analysis like they need to do all this. It's just hope and pray.
That is, you look at the players on the ice right there. You could argue that is 4 top 10 players in the world on one line. Because Celebrini's there now. You've seen him in the first 2 games of the Olympics. He's there now. So we're probably looking at waking up, if assuming both teams go to the gold medal game, at 6 a.m. just to watch the Celebrini, McDavid, McKinnon line just absolutely shred for 60 minutes. Because, like, realistically, what does Team USA do about that? Do they have anything they can throw out there that can even slow that down when it's like that, firing on that cylinder? What do they do about that?
Their defensive game just cannot be off in any shape or form. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They've got to. I mean, it's gonna be a hard checking game. It's gonna be a physical game. It's gonna be an intense, ridiculousness as far as pace. You've got solid goaltending on both sides of the ice. It's going to be a clash of the Titans.
We need it, but I am worried. Like, I do think those are the 2 favorites to get to the gold medal game. I've seen Sweden play. Sweden's good, but they don't really have, like, in a weird way, they don't have the chemistry that I've seen from the Canadians and the US so far. We need that game, and it will be the only time in my life I will cheer against Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. It'll be the only time, and Devon Toews. That'll be the only time I ever cheer against them. And it's just going to come down to the fact, like, the one advantage the USA has over Canada is the goaltending. If Connor Hellebuyck is at Connor Hellebuyck level, they can win the game. But if he's not, you're not stopping McKinnon, McDavid, and Celebrini. And one of them's not performing well. Yeah, one of them's not performing well. Let's just throw Sidney Crosby up there, who had 2 points again today. Like, let's just. Seth Jarvis sat out the first game. He'll play this game. Brad Marchand, you can take a healthy scratch. Like, the talent is insane, and it's. I'm so excited to watch it. If Canada beats USA in the gold medal game, what are the odds that McKinnon, Makar, and Toews bring their gold medal to rub it in Brock Nelson's face?
Oh, I mean, the hardware is definitely going to be in the locker room, no doubt. And I mean, Brock will be there with his silver then. It'll be one of those. They have such respect for each other, and that's the greatest thing about this team right now. Is again, talking to all of them about it in the room before they left was, again, that pride and everything. And, saying that we're excited to that Marty Necas is going to be playing against me. I'm excited that, I'm going to be playing against Cale or, whoever to whoever.
Yeah.
That they, they're so happy to be over there and participating that, whoever wins or loses, yes, the goal is gold, no doubt.
Yeah.
But they're all going to be happy for each other no matter what. So it's going to be, again, competition now until that the end of that 6 a.m. game. But it's going to be, I mean, right now you can't say like you're saying, the Team USA played a really great game against Latvia. Canada has now played 2 great games against, two teams that gave them a little bit of a run. But it's going to get it more interesting, no doubt.
Fingers crossed. We can all just agree, though, right, Griffin? A shootout to decide the gold medal, right?
That's what we need. 5 minutes of 3-on-3 and then a shootout to decide the most important hockey game in a generation.
I think Coach Jared Bednar will be losing his mind if that happens.
Does he hate shootouts as much as we do?
He hates shootouts.
Yes.
That's my coach of the year. That's my
Jackson
winner.
Not a fan.
It shows in the results too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing we talk about in this show. Just our hatred for shootouts. Every time it goes to a show, you might as well just turn it off. I'm not going to let Griffin go on his tangent because usually he's got about 5 to 10 minute tangent about it. And
I'm not a fan either.
That's great.
A lot of that going around these days. I wonder if everyone's in agreement on something, and we should just get rid of this stupid.
I love it. Bring everybody together for the hatred of shootouts.
Is the unifying factor in this country, in North America entirely, is shootouts are the worst. I want to finish on one last point, tying it back to the Avs and the Olympics, is the gold medal game is going to be, like we said, 6 a.m. on the 22nd. The Avs are going to return on the 25th, and then they're going to have the 5 games in 7 days stretch and the very condensed schedule where we look at, the games in hand that they have on Minnesota and Dallas. Is there a concern of maybe some fatigue going into the playoffs, of coming off the adrenaline dump of the Olympics and then having to play so much hockey down the stretch before you even start your biggest part of the season?
For those players that are participating in the Olympics, absolutely. As I said, earlier, it's going to be a rough go at it because of, again, you've got guys that are playing. Granted, they're not playing as many minutes as they, play in the NHL games, but it's still, heavily put on those top players. So, but those guys are so conditioned. It's, again, barring any bumps or bruises, I think they're going to be fine. If anything, they don't play as well when they've had too much rest. So they are certainly that built like that machine that, once you get them cranked up and running smoothly, they continue to run smoothly with, no breaks in between. So I think it's good for a lot of the, like I was saying, I think it's great for a lot of the guys that aren't playing in the Olympics that were banged up a little bit to get recovered. But the guys that are playing in the Olympics, I think, are just going to come back with that energy. That's going to, as I said, almost, be contagious around the locker room. So it'll be a good position for them to be in, and a good mental space for all of them to be in too. Because again, talking to all the guys in the room, planning their vacations and what they were doing over the break, they were all just still, no matter where they were going, making sure that they were going to be able to watch all of the games. And we're just so excited to be hockey fans, for this next couple of weeks themselves. So again, that bonding, them coming back into, play just a few days after they get back, the guys that are playing in the Olympics, get a couple, I'm sure they'll all, take some time themselves while the other guys that are coming, from the break off their vacations and their nice tans from Hawaii are going to, they need to get their legs back into it. So they're going to have a couple of practices without those guys. And I honestly don't expect to see any of the Olympic players hit any of the practices until morning skate in Utah on that first game back.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a sprint towards the end of the season, and I can't wait to see it. I did just have like my final thing when we were talking at the first watch party we went to, and we were joking about the fact that it might be a Avs versus Florida Panthers series. How concerned are you with the Panthers right now? How concerned? We'll end on that because you're coming off 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups. For those who know, Colleen's from you're from the Florida area, correct?
I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, and my first internship was with the Florida Panthers. So,
so
I have a tie to that team.
Yeah. So you have two. They've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. How concerned are you right now with the Panthers? Because right now I think they sit like 8 points out of a playoff spot.
I'm not super concerned, but it's also a team that knows how to win. So with that, that's almost, a cheat sheet for that, to have a team that's got that caliber. Obviously the biggest factor with that team is Sasha Barkov. So if, Barkov comes back and he's, back into full form, that's going to be a scary team, but it just depends on when he's getting back. So you got Tkachuk back. They're getting healthy again, and it's definitely a team that can sneak up on you real quick.
Yeah. With the Olympics again, it is fun cheering for the Tkachuk brothers. They are fun to cheer for when they're on your team. They're rats, but they are fun to cheer for when they're on your team. And then the last thing with that too, have you thought of anything? I know Griffin and I talked about this. If Jesper Wallstedt gets traded to the Panthers and Anton Lundell goes back to the Wild, that makes the Wild just even more scary. If that's the case, that's a rumor. Have you not heard that rumor, Griffin?
Now I remember, but
yeah, like that would make the Wild a legit, because Anton Lundell rocks. He'd be a top 6 center on pretty much any other team other than the Florida Panthers.
Yeah,
but if he goes to the Wild, I'm a little concerned.
That would definitely be something to be of concern. The chance of that happening.
Like Anton Lundell. I can't.
Yeah, we'll take Anton Lundell. He's that $4 million cap hit. We'll take that. We'll do that. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else, Griffin.
No, I think we are ready to wrap this one up here. Christian and I will stick around for a second or two just to wrap this episode. But Colleen, you got the red carpet to plug anywhere anyone can find you, and find some of your last couple of works. You got the floor.
Obviously all my stuff is on milehighsports.com in the Avalanche section, as well as I'm always tweeting the home games, at the home games in the press box, at For Puck's Sake, as you can see on Twitter. And then I am also on Instagram, but I leave that to the team there at Mile High Sports to do all the Instagram stuff for me. So, but you can definitely find me on Twitter at For Puck's Sake for some of my insights and just all of my, with the Olympics as well. I've definitely been tweeting for some of the games, not that 4:00 game this morning though. So not all of the games, but certainly. They
can find all your interviews over on YouTube, right?
On YouTube as well, yes.
Yeah.
I do have all of my interviews, video clips with players, coach, and any other Avalanche related stuff at For Puck's Sake as well. So you can subscribe and don't miss any of the ins and outs of what the players are talking about and what's going on with the team.
Excellent. Well, Colleen, thank you so much for joining us once again and blessing our listeners with a hockey mind much smarter than me and Christian. So once again, we appreciate you taking the time for us today, and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
And once again, that was Colleen Flynn from Mile High Sports. You can find all of her work over at Mile High Sports and For Puck's Sake on Twitter. It's just so nice to have guests on sometimes, because at a certain point, I'm not the smartest guy ever. So
no, she's in the locker room and she does all of these things. There are so many more stories we can get in with her next time we have her on. I don't know if she told you some of the stories she told me at the watch party. I'm just like, this is gold, and we'll get her on maybe in the off season in a little bit more looser format. And we can really dive in deep with her stuff, but just awesome. Make sure you go check her out. Check out all the stuff over at Hockey Mountain High, Mile High Sports. They're producing some great stuff. But Colleen's our one who's in the room, so it was good to have her on.
Yeah, it was such a blast. And again, thank you so much to Colleen for taking the time to join us today. I think we had the harder time more than her, because we get so used to just me and you just throwing shit at each other back and forth time and time again, that I felt like I kind of bombed the early part of it because I forgot how to interact with people normally. Yeah.
Because we're just two idiots. We just have a good time with it.
I forgot how to ask it. I asked a question and I was sitting there when she was answering, be like, I have no idea what I just said.
No idea what you just said.
That was a string of words I sounded drunk at a certain point. I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, me and you were just so in sync. I was like, this guy's going to steal my question. I just know because I'm thinking one question at a time.
I had the Celebrini question in the Olympics on the tip of my tongue. And I was like, I know exactly where he's going. He's going to take it from me first. But.
Yep. And I did. But I did want to touch real quick on the Olympics too. The Team USA, we talked about them. I watched that game. They looked good. But they aren't close to Canada. They need to step their game up. Just watching what Canada's done these first two games against good opponents in Czechia and Latvia, or not Latvia, Czechia and the Swiss. They need to play a much better game. And they were great in periods 2 and 3, but that first period, I think there were a little bit of nerves. They weren't great. It also doesn't help you have 2 disallowed goals.
Yeah, I think that helped make the game look a little closer, quote unquote, than it was. I mean, you had the Brock Nelson goal disallowed again. You had a McKinnon goal overturned as well, right? You've had like in the first period alone at Team USA, Brock Nelson had his first point as an Olympian overturned. He had his first goal as an Olympian overturned. Then he rang one off the post at the end of the first. He finally got 2 goals, thankfully, to end the game. But it's like we can't escape it. We're still getting goals overturned, even when they're not on the team. And I just thought that was hilarious. But I watched Canada play Switzerland today, and I was just like, oh my God. There's no way. There's no way, right? There's no way you're walking in there and beating that team. I really hope I'm wrong, but that you're going to need more than the power of friendship and relying on the energy from an upset that happened 45 years ago to beat Team Canada, man.
You're going to need it. And they have the talent.
They have a shot.
Tage Thompson was awesome. We talked about that. Tage Thompson on that third line. And what a miraculous thing that Kyle Connor is a good hockey player and he should be playing. That's a crazy concept, I know. And Dylan Larkin was awesome. That third line outside of Nelson and Jack Hughes and a mixture of Trocheck and JT Miller that third line was awesome. You need more from the Matthews and the Tkachuk brothers, in my opinion. I didn't love their game.
I know Matthews scored. I was not super impressed by him.
I didn't love his game.
If they're going to beat Canada, Matthews needs to be. He's supposed to be the play driver. He's supposed to be the guy on the team. Like, no offense to the Tkachuks and Eichels of the world, but like you're not on that.
Matthews has won an MVP. He's won all of these things. You need him to be that. So that's my one concern. I did love Jack Eichel's play. If there's someone who can slow down Connor McDavid, it's Jack Eichel. The other problem is like who's slowing down McKinnon and Celebrini.
Right. It's just like, okay, well, that's 1/3 of the problem solved.
Yeah. Like it's going to be interesting. I think they have a good chance. Like I'm interested to see how they play. They play against who are they playing tomorrow? Is it France or Germany? No, Germany's Sunday. Is it Denmark?
It's Denmark. That's right. France is in our group. Yeah, it's Denmark.
Yeah. So it's Denmark. I'm interested to see how they play in that game. And who the goaltender is going to be, because I imagine you probably want to save Hellebuck for the Germany game.
Yeah,
but also Hellebuck's a psycho.
You brought 3 good goalies. You might as well use them. So
yeah, and also I always forget just in the international hockey that you're allowed to play an extra forward and an extra defenseman.
Oh yeah,
like it's crazy. Like I'm just like wait, why is this guy not scratched? I also kind of don't hate that for the NHL. Could you imagine if they just had an extra forward and an extra defenseman they could carry? I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
But the Olympic hockey's been phenomenal. I'm very excited for the rest of the tournament, but we can talk about that more on the next episode. But I don't think I have anything else, man.
No, yeah, the Olympics have been a blast so far. I mean, my expectations were high when we're only in the group stage, and I feel like it has already blown that out of the water. Like we haven't even gotten like the classic yet. Nope. You had Finland and Sweden, but it was at 6 a.m. Yep. So like, did it really happen? I mean, it did, but like, it just didn't. It wasn't the same, and I don't think you're going to get that in the group stage. But like, once you get Team USA, Sweden, Canada, I mean, we'll see if Finland makes it.
Dude, my buddy who lives in Sweden was messaging me the whole time, and I'm like, dude, it's 6 a.m. here. Like, I'm just waking up. Like, I missed that whole game. And he goes, oh, dude, I'm so pissed right now. Sweden looks like shit. And I'm just like, okay, like I'll have to rewatch it. Like it was rough.
I mean, imagine waiting so many years for that game to happen again, come out that flat. I'd be pissed.
It was bad, but he was messaging me the whole time, and I was just like, he goes, there's only 2 things we care about in Sweden, hockey and curling. I was like, that is quite the country. Quite the
I
country.
wish. I wish.
I wish. But, and again, just quick shout out to the USA women's team. They look like a fucking machine.
They are machines, man. They're so good. They're so fun to watch. I mean, we talked about them smoking Canada. They smoked Italy 6-0 today. It's like they're so good. Like, that's one of the most dominant teams I've ever seen.
And the craziest thing is Italy's goalie played really good in this game. And she still
dropped 6.
Yeah, like it could have been 11-0 if it wasn't for her in the first period. She was insane. And the women's, it's a collision course with Canada. Canada kind of corrected itself. They beat Finland. I forget who they play in their quarterfinal today. But it is just, I think the talent distribution between the men's, where it's like you have like 6 good teams, where in like the women's division you just have like America and Canada are just like.
But that gap is closing a little bit.
It's closing.
You're starting to see it now in the Olympics. Like, okay, no one's on that level yet, but you're starting to see some of those other countries be able to ice some good teams that would maybe once you get to the North American Olympics in 4 years, that might be pretty good. That might be some pretty good competitions in there. And you imagine how close the men's side is going to be. I mean, you even see the team like Czechia dominating the World Juniors over the last little bit. Once they start to get some of those kids up in the NHL and up in the Olympics, like this gap is going to get closed. Whereas I think you kind of need to get USA Canada now, because it's not guaranteed that that's going to be the one in the future. It's not guaranteed now.
Nope. They're the 2 betting favorites, but I do think there's the closing the gap is there. Czechia just concerns me, man. Like they have so much talent, but again, they just seem off. Like there's just something off about them. Like those first 2 games you watch them, they get shut up by Canada. They barely beat Italy today. Like the talent's there. They're just missing something. And maybe it's just unfair to compare them to Canada, because you watch Canada and they're just a well-oiled machine. That's just kind of like.
Man, I think I just need to see the U.S. take on someone that's not Latvia.
Yeah.
It's like good win against Latvia.
Yep.
Let's see it against Germany. Like see it against a C-tier team like Germany before we get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited, man. It's going to be – I think it's shaping up where Canada and USA are going to be the top 2 overall seeds to win. I mean, Canada already clinched their bracket.
Yeah, Canada's already top seed. Like, they're done. Yeah. They could not ice anyone in the next game. They could just forfeit and be fine.
Yeah. So, and if USA wins tomorrow, they clinch – no, they don't clinch theirs because they haven't played Germany yet.
Yeah.
Because Germany won. So if Germany beats Latvia, we'll see. But – I'm excited for that game. I'm excited for the Germany game on Sunday. We'll be back probably Monday or Tuesday next week.
We genuinely have not even discussed a plan. Probably earlier, because I have a little business trip middle of the week. That'd probably hold on. Let me remind myself my days of the week again. 17. We'll go Monday.
Yeah. So we'll be back recapping the entire weekend from Team USA. And again, shout out to Colleen for hopping on. It's kind of a guest we've been chasing for a while, so to get her on was awesome. Make sure you go give her a follow. She's producing great stuff over at Mile High Sports and at Hockey Mountain High.
Yeah, she's going to be on the show much more often in the future. It's just once we started the YouTube and everything, we've both met Colleen at the watch parties and everything. Also, watch parties. We've got more coming up. I'll give you the dates once we got them in a little bit, but those things are fun. We're going to be there. Hopefully we're both going to be there for that one. This time Colleen's usually there. The whole Mile High Sports team is there. First of all, number 38, amazing spot.
Awesome.
Like, it's such a fun spot to go watch a game. The weather's going to be warmer than it's been this entire winter, but we're going to have those coming up pretty soon. Just keep your ear to the ground. They're a lot of fun to come to, but yeah, thanks again to Colleen for joining us for today. Had a lot of fun with this one. We relearned how to speak to guests and be mildly professional. So good lesson for us all around. But I think that is going to do it for us today on this edition of the Hockey Mountain High podcast. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. As always, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at GR Youngs. You can follow Christian at Christian_Belay. You can follow the show at Hockey MTN Pod. But again, thank you all so very much for tuning in. We will catch you all next time. But until then,